y'all. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. It's your boy Carcino here, and yes, we are going to get into it. Finally, we're back to the TV shows. I know you guys were, where's my TV shows, man? I love those. I'm like, I want to know, man. These are my favorite shows. I'm like, alright, cool. But some of the shows I do, you might not like, but you still will learn something from them. Now, this is the truth behind the TV show The Wayans Brothers. Yes, give me a hug. But a lot of people I found out didn't like the show. And mainly because they said they didn't like the Wayans Brothers. That was very weird. The people I knew loved the Wayans Brothers show. Now, what was weird about the Wayans Brothers show with a lot of the brothers was that the Wayans Brothers show actually went past what people thought. You know, I mean, it went longer than what people. When people got a hold of the Wayans Brothers show, a lot of them didn't get it early on. They kind of got on it in like season 2 and 3. And then they went back to like season 1. Now, Wayans Brothers. They went through a whole different transition than a lot of other shows because this show was never meant to be, like put on the display of the black show. Now, Fox was out of the question. With all of the things that went down with the Wayans Brothers and Fox, with In Living Color, they were not going to give Fox the Wayans Brothers show. Keenan wasn't with that. He wasn't feeling it. It was just not going to happen. Now, when the show was in development hell, when they were preparing to do the show with just Sean and Marlon, this was based on the strength of the movie Mo Money. When Mo Money hit and Damon Wayans and Marlon did their thing in Mo Money, and people saw that and they saw we was introduced to Marlon Wayans, who Kadeem Harrison, who played Dwayne Wayne, was supposed to play that part, and Marlon ended up getting it. And that was a much better fit for that role with his high energy and all the stuff he was doing. That went along perfect with the show. And they figured, man, we made a show with him and Marlon. Because Marlon is more like Damon in a way. So Damon and, they have Marlon and Sean who are close in age. Those two hang out more. Kind of remind them a younger version of Keenan and how Damon used to be. Like, Damon, you used to be wild like that when you were young. And, Keenan had to bop him upside his head and all of that. So, this was like the mirror. They was like so close, even as kids, these two. So, it fits. They both play off each other. One is the womanizing Sean, he always plays that womanizing guy who definitely is, going after the ladies. And Sean is the hyper, lazy, hyper addict, sex crazed younger brother. And they all work at this local newsstand, which is owned by their dad, John Witherspoon. Rest in peace, John. And then D, who plays the tough security guard, which is Anna Marie. And the way they all play off each other, that was basically it. The show had it had an appeal that caught a lot of attention from Black Hollywood. Now, when they had their cast, they had everything in place that they wanted to do. The first place that they went to get this thing approved before they went to Warner Brothers is NBC. NBC had the deal first. CBS, and they weren't even announced. NBC, NBC loved the show because they were looking to get in on some of that Wayans Brothers magic that they did with In Living Color. So they were all in. They were like, this is what we've been looking for. We've been looking for a show that's going to break out. The Wayans Brothers, it sounds funny. It sounds hip. It sounds fresh. This is what we want. But the father, I'm not really sold on this dad. And that's only because NBC was in transition to try to get some more bigger names for the show to blow it up. Somebody that they knew and someone they had a relationship with who was in between films at the time. They were treating this as if this show wasn't going to be around for about 2 seasons. But if it's a hit, we can, use it over and over again. I'm over here choking to death. Now, everybody was on board for making the move to go with NBC. I mean, everybody was ready for this transition. You got all the pieces in place, all the transactions in place that are proper and need to be for what's going on. Billy Van Zandt and Jane Moore or Millie Moore were the producers, and they just wanted to protect the show. They did. They just wanted to protect the show. And everyone who was involved in the creative process of making the show, they wanted to make a great television show. Now, things changed when they got talking about John Witherspoon as the dad. And they brought up all these different names for television at the time. And they were like, you ever thought about this character here? Danny Glover? Remember him from Lethal Weapon? Well, Danny's in between films right now. And this would be a good look for Danny. And it'd be a great look for your show to have someone experienced like Danny Glover come in and start taking over the reins and start leading the way. They love Danny Glover. Danny Glover was that guy. Like, he was just known as that man. So, he was in between movies during that time. And he was basically taking a year off from film. So, this television show was the perfect timing for Danny. He had just did Lethal Weapon 3, and he was big off that, and just in transition at the time. So when they were like trying to get him a television role, this was kind of like not the right thing for him. And they definitely, the Wayans brothers, was opposed to this. No. John Witherspoon is Pops. And that's that. And they were like, "Are you sure?" Yes. So Ice Cube and DJ Pooh at this time are hanging around the set because they're getting ready to start, trying to get their movie going with New Line Cinema, and they're looking to do a deal with New Line Cinema, and the Wayans brothers was in there also because they were in negotiation with New Line Cinema for a film and getting a movie deal with them. So Keenan Ivory Wayans was negotiating deals with both sides doing the television show as well. And Ice Cube and DJ Pooh, all these people were around, and they're trying to get a deal going because they have a movie coming out that they want to do, which was Friday. And a lot of people don't understand and don't know that they only got the budget for the movie once they put an experienced comedian in the role for Smokey. Smokey was just supposed to be another guy that they had who just got hired, but they wanted an experienced comedian to play Smokey. DJ Pooh was gonna be Smokey. Nobody really knew that. And they, not to say DJ Pooh wasn't funny, which he is funny. They wanted an experienced comedian to play that role, and so DJ Pooh and Q both settled on Chris Tucker to play that role. But here's the interesting thing. After watching some tapings and watching the show when I was filming, it hadn't even aired yet. They were on the set. They saw John Witherspoon perform on that show playing Pops and said, that's our Pops right there. And they saw the security guard playing Dee Dee on the show for the Wayans brothers and said, "Oh, that's my mom's. That's my mom's and Pops right there." Ice Cube immediately went to Anna Marie and went to John Witherspoon and said, "Hey, I need you to be my mom. I need you to be my dad." He went and got Paula J. Parker, who was on season 2. She was in there and came in season 2, but she was in the movie as Craig's girlfriend. And that was a wrap at that time. Like, everybody normally got what they wanted out of the deal. But that first season, they turned down NBC. NBC was going to pick them up, but they wanted Danny Glover. They stuck with Pops. And because they stuck with him and not Danny Glover, they went ahead and got picked up out of WB. Now, NBC had a better deal in place, but WB gave them the opportunity to shine over there. They was like, "Come to the Warner Brothers network. We got you, and we'll get you a pretty good deal. It's not going to be the NBC deal, but you guys will be greenlit to go, and we want to work with you." So, true to form, Warner Brothers did do their part in the beginning. So they figured, let's put this show on during its opening night. Let's open up with the Wayans brothers on Wednesday nights. So opening up, they got Pops, everybody loving Pops. And then once Friday come out, Pops just becomes an even bigger thing when the movie Friday comes out, like after the first season was like over. It was like during the first season of the TV show, you've been watching the Wayans brothers and Pops. Then you see Pops in Friday. Now Pops is a real big name. Matter of fact, Pops was so big and so popular that people think he got on the show because of Friday. When that wasn't true. He was already on doing the show before Friday even came out. But that's how it works in Hollywood. That's how iconic the character was that it gave him a much bigger raise for the part two. Because the character Pop's net worth went up on the show, and he's the same character as he was on Friday. Just he's Pops. So John Witherspoon and Anne Marie played great as husband and wife on the show. Well, on Friday, and then in the TV show, them being together, it just all panned out. So here's the situation. Man, my throat is killing me. I know the weather's changing outside, but my goodness. Now, sorry about that. Throat is killing me, y'all. Bear with me. Now, after the first season came out and they went into syndication, after their fifth season, so they got full syndication. They did over 100 episodes. They were upset. The Wayans brothers, they didn't like the way their show was taken from them or canceled and didn't get a final show when the ratings were right where it needed to be. They were like, why are you canceling the Wayans brothers show? It just really broke down and broke their hearts because they was really disappointed. So during this time, like I said, that started in 95 and 96. They were in talks of doing a movie with New Line Cinema way back then. Keenan Ivory Wayans was. He was looking for an outlet. And at that time, New Line Cinema was that platform. And once Friday came through and a lot of other movies started to come through and, keep New Line going, because that's the house that Freddie built. Nightmare on Elm Street made the bank for New Line Cinema. So all the other films that they needed to keep the movie, the industry afloat, of the company at that time, was normally created due to other films from the urban market. And normally people neglect the urban market, but the urban market was bankrolling New Line Cinema. Like the urban market, more so than almost the Caucasian market, they were bankrolling the Friday the 13th movies that were coming out. They love to go see these horror movies, so they was loading up the movie theaters. Now, they were open to giving black films chances because they were filming, they were getting good numbers, and that's what people don't normally look at. They look at the percentages of the number of the people that come check out the movies. They look at those theaters and the house numbers, what they call them, the house numbers. So they look at the house numbers like, man, you got 73% full house. Whenever this movie's coming on in the black neighborhoods, in the urban communities, the movie theaters over there, they got like a full house every time. And it's like, man, that movie's popping. So they knew that. So that's how they got the New Line Cinema deal. And when the Wayans brothers was coming into where they had to renegotiate, everybody's deal was up and it was time to pay them more money. Warner Brothers decided, let's go ahead and shut it down. And that was sad because they were a show that could have kept going for a long time. I thought the show was funny. I mean, they had some episodes that didn't work, but they definitely had a great show. Some people thought it was too silly. And I was like, it really wasn't that silly. They had some writers that kind of ground it out, but their movies, I think, kind of hurt them as far as the show, because a lot of the characters that were, on the show was a lot of slapstick comedy. And when you do that, like Don't Be a Menace and all those things, when you come back to the fray, there you were. So after Don't Be a Menace and all of these things, they had their audience. They had Don't Be a Menace out. They had the show going. Then you got Keenan, who's in charge of the creative process. He got his hands involved. Now you're looking at Scary Movie that comes after this. So Scary Movie became part of it, and while they were doing the show, they were working on Scary Movie as well. So that spoof of Scream. So it all worked out in the end. But I love the show. And I'm glad Danny Glover did not come in and play Pops. John Witherspoon. I mean, they walked away from that big money just to keep Pops. So that was a big move. And to have an electric relaxation during the opening scene. It was awesome. They had some great. They had from Good Times. They had Janet Du Bois in there. They had Huggy in there as Dupree. Yep, and I just been told that they just doing the finishing touches on the sequel to Three Strikes. So we'll see what happens. And yes, E40's in it. The 40 Water is in the sequel. So we'll definitely check that out. Uh, I don't know. That's what I don't know about the rest of the other cast. Like what happened to them? Because I remember they had Lisa Saunders the first season. They had Layla Rakan was on there, and she never returned. She was there season one, and she was the love interest, and then she just disappeared. So I don't know if it was muscle or they just wrote her out the script. I don't know what happened there. Well, the Wayans brothers went into full syndication, but WGN is a local station, the Warner Brothers. So when you had the WGN or the WB, the WGN cable network that runs here in Chicago, we got that's our both, local feed, and it's nationwide. So from 1995 to 99, when WGN, the local Chicago feed, they carried all the WB programming nationally. So that means the Warner Brother network was available to all the markets where a local affiliate didn't exist. So that meant all the shows the Warner Brothers had, like the series that aired on WGN during its first run of syndication. They had Seventh Heaven, that Sister Sister show, Parenthood. They had a lot of shows at that time. So once everything changed over there, things switched up. Now you see it on Ion TV or BT. You might have some other stations that might pick it up on Viacom networks, but black shows don't normally get their syndication the right way. Sometimes they go 4 or 5 years before they start putting things in proper syndication form. So, it is what it is. It's a crazy, crazy world, man. You just try to navigate it as much as you can and get things done as fast as you can. Um, well, it's the change of the weather. That's what normally gets me. The FinSci rule. That's the financing and syndication things. The FCC came up with this to prevent like the monopoly of the big networks from changing like how they own programs and that's aired on prime time. So it like what it does is it prohibits the big shows from like airing the syndicated programs that they got money in. Like, this changed all the power relationships between the networks and the television producers. So therefore you can agree to, profit on other networks. I don't know what that was that just happened. But yeah, it keeps you from going through other networks and things of that nature. So, okay, well, what is this about? Oh my goodness, this is what I'm talking about. So, I hate when women play games, man. It's just so unnecessary. Just get to the point. I hate that, man. I hate this whole back and women. It's just so entertaining. I don't know why they entertain with that nonsense. It's like, what do you get out of that? Jesus Christ. Sorry, y'all. That's messing up. My throat's messed up. Making good points here. Well, I was. I did watch the Laker Heat game, by the way, y'all. It was criminal. So I turned it off. Now, here we go. Now, all of these rules that were brought in place to change the production in certain companies, like all these other big companies that came through, and independent television program companies, smaller companies, they could never afford the financing of these programs. But the syndication of these programs, the rebroadcasting of it, you know, you can go ahead and use. So now, all these changes in the television landscape now because of the Fox cable networks and everything else, they pretty much abolished the FI rules is what they call them, the financial interest and syndication rules. So in 93, all those things were set aside, and now ultimately newer broadcast shows like UPN and the WB, financial interests and all of that stuff, they integrated parent media conglomerates like Paramount Pictures or Time Warner, for example. So all of these rebroadcast shows from the three major networks, which is CBS, NBC, and ABC. Those were the three majors. So they range from about 60 to 70 shows a year. Okay, and between those years, all the other shows when they're rebroadcast because of the rules that they can't just dominate all the shows, it kept them from re-airing or rebroadcasting syndicated shows. They had to go to the other, networks, if you guys are following. So now what the 5-side rule being changed, shows can move up to like 75 shows now. And now all the shows are going up to 20 episodes a show, and it just changes over the decade. And now with the streaming being the way it is in syndication, it's a lot different now. They have to rechange the syndication rule once again because programs now are being done differently. Okay, you can't say we're doing, because people are streaming shows for a lesser time. You're getting like 1 hour shows and they're streaming them like 10, they dropping them all at once. So it's like you're reaching them in time, you're reaching your syndication, but not in episodes. So it's a whole bunch of changing, and different finances and rule changing due to the FCC's got to come in and rule on things of that nature. But all of this is on the business side of the programming. Okay? So on that note, it's your boy Carcino. I'm out. Don't forget to subscribe to the page, hit the notification button. Definitely support your boy page, man. Hit my Cash App up, Carcino, man. I haven't seen you guys in a while, so I don't know if they sending you my notifications or whatever, but definitely hit the Cash App up. Or you can click the link in the description box, hit the Streamlab up. We appreciate it. One.